Vinyl Tag 2024, provided to us by Rob Walker. I've never taken part in one of these before. I don't even think I've ever watched any of them before. But I figured I would throw my hat into the ring this time, since I thought it was quite interesting. I've never done it before. So 20 questions basically provided, and answer them. I've also written these in about as short form as I possibly can on this bit of paper, questions and answers. So if I read them wrong or slightly differently to how they were actually written, that's why. I'll provide them in the description below, so you can see what the actual questions are. And there's one that I can't answer because I'm doing this with CDs and not vinyl. So, the favourite album you bought in 2023. There was a few candidates for this, but I'm going to go with Scott 4 by Scott Walker. Sort of baroque pop from the late 60s, 1969 this was released. And I don't think there's a single bad song on it. This could have been an answer for one of the other questions as well. But yeah, I think the first song I heard from this was Duchess. And eventually I just decided to listen to the full thing. So there's things like Angels of Ashes, which is absolutely amazing. Hero of the War. On Your Own Again, which is like less than 2 minutes, but it's fantastic. So yeah, that's probably my favourite album. One of my favourites of all time, but my favourite album that I got last year. The last buy of 2023, the last album you bought. And I think there was 4 candidates for this, because I got 4 at the same time. But this one would be, this is Bye Bye Paramore. This is the only album released in 2023 that I actually picked up last year. And again, first ever Paramore album I've ever listened to. Thought it was a belter, to be honest. Absolutely brilliant. One of the first albums in a long time where I've listened to the singles before the albums came out and got excited for the album as a result. And those singles were this excuse me, This Is Why, The News, and I think See Comme Ça was a single. And then Running Out of Time was a single that was released after the album. Probably the best song on the album for me. So that's numero dos. An artist that released 2 albums in 1 year. Now I think my answer for this is brilliant, because this man did it not once, but twice. And some of those are provided on the anthology for Tim Buckley. So in 1969 he released Happy Sad and Blue Afternoon. And then in 1970, the next year, he released Star Sailor and Lorca. Lorca I've never listened to yet, but I know they were both released in the same year. So that's about as good an answer you can get, and all of them are, I'm pretty sure songs from every single album are provided on this. I've not listened to this in full yet. I've listened to most of it though. And yeah, I think that's a very good answer. If there's anybody who'd done it 3 times, let me know, but I don't think I know anybody that's done it 3 times. Question 4. Pick a decade for music. Now, that's how I've written it. I think the actual question is along the lines of, if you could only listen to one decade of music for a year, what decade would it be? And this is quite tough, but in the end I thought most of my favourite bands are from the same decade. That decade is the 80s. And my reasoning for this is basically, well, The Smiths, The Cure, U2, Pet Shop Boys, Depeche Mode, Tears for Fears. Those are probably the main candidates that brought me to that answer. And that's most of the stuff that I've sort of grew up listening to. But that means obviously I miss out on things like the Beatles, Neil Young, Slow Dive, and any bands that came out before or after that. Number 5, an artist that came from Manchester. I have quite a few for this as well, but I landed on the 1975. Most of my answers for this are sort of older albums, so I felt like I needed something that was a bit more modern, a bit newer. And I do like this album, although I did listen to one of the other albums. I think it was called A Brief Inquiry into Relationships or something like that. Hated it, absolutely hated it, but I really like this one. I like their last album that they released as well, and their second album that has a title so long that I don't remember it. The most listened to artist of 2023. Now I thought I knew what this was, but according to my last FM account, that's no longer true. So for my Spotify Wrapped, which I was going to do a video on, but it's a bit late now. According to that, my top artist was The Cure, with The Smiths in second place. However, by the end of the year, because the Spotify Wrapped comes out in like October or November, turns out my actual answer is The Smiths. And I'm not really surprised about that too much. I mean, a lot of their songs are on the shorter side, and they're one of my favourite bands at the moment anyway. They just have songs for every single mood for me, even if the lyrics are quite depressing, their music is still relatively upbeat, which is a rarity for me, but yeah. Ended up being The Smiths with just short of 800 streams or something like that, and then The Cure was just behind that by a few. Number 7, this is the one that I can't do, 7-inch records. I don't have any. Question 8, 4 party guests. So if you had 4 party guests that are musicians, I believe, who would they be? And I landed on 4, and those are Bono. U2 are basically one of the most listened to bands in my life. I listened to them all the way through school. And obviously Bono's been a huge influence on me musically. And of course The Edge, but I don't want to have like all of U2 in here. Second guest, Nick Drake. He's the only artist here that's dead. And he died when he was like 26 or 28, I think. It's between him and Tim Buckley that died, one or the other. I think Tim Buckley was 28. But even though I've only known about Nick Drake's music for about 3 years, 4 years, he's had quite a profound impact on me in terms of acoustic music. And he only had 3 albums, so I think he's probably the only person on this list that would probably decline the invitation, to be fair. But yeah, I don't know what Nick Drake would be like, because there's not really much recorded interviews or anything with him. He was quite shy, quite anxious in his time. But yeah, he would be number 2. Number 3, Paul McCartney, my favourite Beatle. I think that's quite simple, to be honest. He's lived a life. He was part of one of the most important bands in musical history. Obviously dealt with a lot of loss. He lost his mother when he was like 14 or something. He knew John Lennon and George Harrison, of course. He's worked with Michael Jackson. He's done a lot, let's just say that. He'd be interesting and actually quite fun. And the last one's probably the least known out of all of these, and that's Lucy Rose. I followed Lucy Rose for 8 years coming up. For 8 years. I think I started following in 2016. She does sort of folk pop type of thing. And I've always wanted to see her live because that's just my style, but the problem with that is I don't know anybody that likes her other than me, and for a long time I've been sort of weird about going to concerts on my own. So yeah, I think this year she's meant to have a new album coming out this year, and hopefully there's a tour that comes with that, and I'll go to see her if she comes to Scotland. Another thing about her is, for one of her tours a few years ago, she went to South America, and she ended up staying with the fans while she toured that continent. So quite a risky thing to do, but I think it just shows like the lack of ego, which is quite a good thing for me. Number 9. A musician that died in 2023. And again, there was a lot, but I'm going to go with Andy Rourke of the Smiths. He was only like 59 or something. I think it's between him and Johnny Marr that was the youngest in the Smiths. And it was between him and probably Matthew Perry, who obviously isn't a musician, but he was the youngest in the cast of Friends, and I've been a fan of Friends for a long time. And he was only 54 as well, so, you know, pretty dark. Number 10, I think, again, similar to the decade question, if you could only listen to music from one country, which country would it be? And this is quite a simple one for me. It has to be sort of England / the UK. If we're counting the UK as a whole, definitely, obviously. Although that way I'd be missing out on things like The Doors, the B-52s, Talking Heads, and U2, because they don't count, they're Irish. So yeah, I thought that was quite simple. 3 channel discoveries within, I'm going to say, the music community as a whole. First one would be Briar's Music Showcase. He's probably my favourite channel this year in the music community. He does... Well, for starters, most of his collection is CDs. He only got a record collection this year. He finally reached 1,000 subscribers this year, which is great. And the collection of his is extensive, man. Like, he's running out of space in his room. Let's just put it that way. And he uploads very frequently for somebody who doesn't seem to have a lot of time. I'm pretty sure he's at school at the moment. And obviously has a job as well, so, you know, he's juggling all that as well as his channel, so he does really well, and they're well made, unlike this fucking shit channel. I mean, wait till watching this. Second channel, I think this is one of the more popular channels in the vinyl community, that's me and Mr. Mail. I started watching this series sort of in summerish. I don't remember what it was called, but basically the premise is that he goes to a record store every so often, he's mates with the guy that owns it. They both share the same name as well, which is kind of funny. And there's this thing about it. Every so often, there's this guy that comes in, and he always tries to sell the shittiest albums he can find, or things that aren't even worth any money. Like, you know, sometimes I think he's gave them away for free, but what he does is, I think he goes to like car boot sales, and he finds albums that are cheap, and then he tries to sell them on for profit. Fair enough, right? But most of the time it's things that he doesn't even know about or understand or anything like that. And it's just funny the way he tries to swindle money out of them. So yeah, that's probably been one of my favourite series, period, on YouTube. And then the third channel is Matt's Music Channel, which... again, it's sort of similar to Briar, where it's mostly CDs. And sometimes he goes to second-hand shops or thrift stores, and he picks up albums from there, and he shares how much he got them for, what kind of quality they are, what the album is, obviously. And I find all sorts of stuff. And he's also hit 1,000. I think he always started his channel last year as well, so, you know, he's doing well. So those are 3 channels that I would say definitely to subscribe to 100%. If you see this, go and check out their channels. I will give their links in the link below, the description, or the comments or whatever. I'll pin a comment or something. I just went to pull up my glasses and I don't have any on. Teenage purchase. So an album you bought when you were a teenager, basically. And this one for me, I didn't buy very many CDs when I was a teenager. So the options are pretty limited, but this is the main one that I went with. And it's important to me for reasons outside the music, funnily enough. So when I applied for college years ago, they want you to provide your own backing tracks, basically. And one of the songs that I chose for my audition was Medicine on this album. I can't really play the song anymore, to be honest. I don't really remember how to play it. I'll need to relearn it probably. But yeah, that was the reason that I went out and bought this, because I didn't have it otherwise. And I got in, so the rest is history. Pick a funk or soul album. Now, I think this counts. If it doesn't, then shoot me. Back to Black by Amy Winehouse. I think this is really underrated, actually. I think this is a fantastic album. And I would say this fits the bill. I like most of the songs in here, although I don't like Rehab. I think it was just overplayed in the UK when it came out. It used to be on all the time, but everything else is brilliant. And another one died when she was 27. She was just too young. Question 14. Name an album that you think everyone has and an album you think nobody has. So, we spoke about the Beatles. Here they are. Sgt. Pepper's. Now, the reason I went for this one is because not only do I have it, but I have 3 copies of this. I bought one, my brother bought one, and my mother bought one. And yeah, this has to be the most popular album I have. I don't think there's any others that are more popular than this. Everybody knows it. If you don't know it, then go and listen to it. You're missing out. And it's also my favourite Beatles album as well. So, and the album that I don't think anybody has. Excuse me. So this is like, well, the band. They broke up years ago, but they're called Estrons, and the title is "You Say I Am Too Much, and I Say You're Not Enough." And they've been only a band for a few years, and this is their only album. They weren't massively popular. I think they were a Welsh band, and they broke up back in like 2019. So they disbanded a long time ago. But this is probably the most expensive CD I own, because there's probably just not that many copies of it going around. It's the one that I'm happiest to have, although it is one of these paper cases, and they're just easy to destroy, and I don't have anything to really replace it with because there's no artwork. So that's that. A female artist. Now, I don't know if this is an album by a female artist or just a female artist in general. I don't remember the question in full, but I'm going to go with someone I mentioned earlier, Lucy Rose. And thanks to the Canadian Stud Muffin, I went back to this album because when I first heard this, I just dismissed it as a sort of basic piano album. But it's actually really quite brilliant lyrically. And I didn't pay attention to it the first time I listened to it, and like I've said before, I think she's pretty underrated. I think I've heard her on the radio like once, and outside that I've never heard her anywhere else. But yeah, this is my go-to, I think. It would either be this or Björk, I should say, that's how you say her name. Question 16. Yeah, 16. The favourite video that I posted versus the favourite video of somebody else. So for me, it was probably my go-to albums that I done. That was another thread that somebody done earlier last year. And I did 10 plus 5 that I don't own. And yeah, that was a pretty popular thread. It's probably my most watched video on the channel right now. In fact, to Briar, he did a big series of videos where he went through his entire CD collection. He's got over 1,000 CDs. And the reason I liked this so much was because he doesn't, he doesn't really have what you would call a guilty pleasure, really. He listens to everything and anything, and I really admire that because I'm not like that. I definitely listen to a lot more now than I did used to, but yeah, to me, that was probably my favourite. I think I'd done like 8 to 10 videos going through all of the CDs, and I want to do the same for mine. It's definitely nowhere near as extensive, but I think it's a fun idea. Question 17, a 90s classic, and I would have went for another album by this band, but I don't have it on me at the moment. My brother has it, so I'm going to go with The Bends by Radiohead. I would say this is more of a classic than any of the other 90s albums I own. Although Homogenic might have been a good one. Oh well. Yeah, pretty fantastic album. Pretty solid rock album as a whole. And I think it gets overlooked quite a lot. Although, I guess people who just rate your music would say Radiohead never gets overlooked because they're like the most popular band on there next to like the Beatles. But yeah, again, excellent album. I love this. That's my favourite Radiohead song on it as well, Street Spirit, Fade Out. I've been trying to learn this song and actually play it cleanly without messing up, and it's a lot harder than you would expect. What I would say is watch Tom York and Johnny Greenwood play this in Japan, and you'll see what I mean. It's deceptively simple. So, an album cover that you would like to be in. I think I've thought sort of outside the box with this one, and I've went with Rattle and Hum by U2, because this is a live album, sort of, and to be here would mean either one of two things. One, I'd be playing with U2, or two, I'd be in the crowd watching the gig. And I think that's a pretty good choice, frankly. U2 are like one of the major bands in my life that have just evaded me, being able to get to see them live. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I've seen Bono for that book tour over there. But I've not seen the rest. Choose an album that you know so well that it's like a greatest hits. And mine for this is a question 19. The Doors, self-titled. I listen to this album quite a lot now. I listen to The Doors quite a lot at the moment. I've been listening to Strange Days. But break on through to the other side. Soul Kitchen. Light My Fire. Take It As It Comes. The End. Come On. That's probably my favourite song on this album. And there's a couple covers on here as well, like Backdoor Man and Alabama Song. But 10 out of 10 without question for me. And probably still my favourite Doors album. And question 20. Another one that I technically can't do since I don't own any of these, but an album that was released in 1974. Now, I don't have any, but I have two in mind that I would probably choose for this, and that's Jolene by Dolly Parton. I like a bit of country. And my mind went blank. Autobahn by Kraftwerk. Sort of one of the early electronic albums. And yeah, that's basically me done. So, this video's like 25 minutes long nearly, so I'm going to end here. Anybody else who wants to take part in this, definitely do. If you feel like it, start a channel, why not? Make this be your first video, make this a big year for your channel. yeah, I think that's probably me. That's about all I have to say now. So, if you've enjoyed this, if you'd like to see more like this, obviously the subscribe and all of that. I don't like begging for things, so I'm not going to do that. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.